Okay, so I've got my guest portion done, my guest class done, and I've got my cool picture on my page. I'm going to go back to the Gumball Guest GUI file, and we're going to finish this program up. Okay, so in this, here I've got a bunch of Windows components. Here I have a couple of my random generator. Let's add our variables about here. It really doesn't matter where you add them so long as it's not inside the constructor or what have you. Actually, it could even be inside the constructor for this particular program. But okay, so I want a variable to represent how many gumballs are in the jar. And then I need a list of all of the people that have guessed. All right, so easy one is the number of gumballs in the jar. We can just do an int. Private int number of candy. Okay, we can set that just right here. Since we've already declared our random generator, we can just set our number of candy to be a random amount because we're not going to change how much gum is in the jar throughout the duration of the program. So I'm going to say gen.next int, maybe give them a random number somewhere about the range of 200. And I want there to be at least a little bit of candy in the jar, so I'm going to say plus 100. So now we have anywhere from 100 to 300 candies in our jar. Okay, now let's do our guesses. So here I'm going to do an array list because that is our new topic for the day. I'm going to leave this blank just for a sec. We're going to think about that. And I'm going to call it my guess list because this is going to represent all of the list of all of my guesses. Equals new array list. I have to specify the type and open close parentheses. Okay, if we wanted a list of integers, we would put integer there, right? If we wanted a list of strings, we'd put strings there. Well, what do we want a list of? We don't want a list of either of those. We want a whole list of guesses. So here, I can put guess in my triangular brackets. So my list is going to be a list of guesses. And the spacing doesn't matter on theirs if there's spaces or not. I'm going to put them in just so you can see a little easier. And I should probably zoom in on this so you can actually see too. That might help. All right, is that better? Okay, so now I have a list of guesses and I have the number of candy in the jar. I'm going to scroll down till after I put all of the components on the screen, and I have two events, one for each button. Okay, in the first one, this is when they guess. All I have to do is create an instance of the guess and add that to my guess list. Okay, so here I need a couple of helper variables. I need their name, and I'm just going to go back and check. I've got LBL name and TXT name. I'll bet that's where I'm getting that from. So I'm going to say LB name equals TXT name dot get text. Okay, so that gets me their name. And I need to, we should probably comment this so we know what we're doing, right? This line of code gets the name from the text field. Okay, now we need to get their guess. So I'm going to say int guess. Okay, this is the one whenever we get something from a text field and it's an int, we have to convert it. So normally I would just do txt, I don't know what it's called, probably txt guess dot get text, but I need to convert that to be an int value because by default it is text. So I'm going to say integer dot parse, P-A-R-S-E, int, and then in parentheses I'm going to put this txt guess, and that with the semicolon. So this gets the name as a string, this gets the guess as an int. Now that I've got my name and my guess, I can create an instance of my guess class. So I'm going to say guess, just going to call it G because I'm not going to use it very much. I'm just going to add it to the list and then not have to use it again. So I'm going to say guess G equals new guess. I have to send it two parameters because if you remember, my guess constructor is expecting two pieces of data. So here I'll send it the name and the guess. Okay, now we're going to add that to our list. Our list is called guess list. and I'm just going to add G. There it is. That's it. Alternatively, you could take this code right here and replace it with G and save yourself one less step. I kind of like it like this because it looks better, but just so you can see, I'm gonna show you another way of doing that. So you could do it like that and just have it all in one line. So it's going to add a new guess with this name and this guess. So if you want to leave it like that, you're fine. If you want to go back and leave it the kind of more simpler way where you have each step laid out individually, that's fine too. Okay, at this point it's done, but when they click the button, nothing's going to happen, so the user might think, oh, it didn't work. So let's just give them some feedback by erasing the name out of the text fields, so that way they can enter in a new one on the next one. So I want to empty out txt name. So instead of get text this time, I'm going to set the text of the text field, and I'm just going to set it to empty. I'm not even going to put a space in there because we don't want to have to worry about extra spaces in our text fields. txt, what's the other one called? Guess? Yeah. There we go. So what this does now, I'll show you what that does. As soon as we enter in the guess, as soon as this loads, oh dear, I'm thinking, I'm talking and typing at the same time. It is not very helpful, is it? Sorry, instead of set, it's set text. There we go. Glad we're checking this once in a while. All right, did we clear? We cleared. Okay, so here, I put in my name, I put in my guess. As soon as I say add guess, it's going to set those to blank so we can enter in another. Plus that way someone doesn't cheat and say, oh, I saw that they put in 180, I'm going to put in 181, kind of lessen their options. No, we don't want them to happen, so we're going to make it fair so they're not going to see the previous guess. Okay, so this one is done. All we have to do is our check to see who the winner is. Okay, this one's going to be a little trickier because I can't just find the max value. I have to find the value closest to their guess, and it could be over and it could be under. It's just whatever's closest. Okay, but much like if I were finding the max, I'm going to start with the first person and automatically assume that they're the closest unless I find somebody else that's got a guess that's closer to the number of candy in the jar. So here I'm going to say guess. This is going to be the winner. And I'm just going to set it equal to the very first person in the list. The very first person in the list is the 0 position in the list. And I could actually set this to any position that's in the list. It doesn't matter. Our logic would still work so long as it's someone that's in the list. Okay, next thing I want to do is I want to see how far that person is from, like, how many, well, how do I say this? How far away they were from the correct value, from the number of candy in the jar. So I'm going to just say int, maybe this is closest distance, equals, okay, so I'm going to say the winner, which is just the first person in the list right now, the winner dot get guess minus the number of candy in the jar. What did we call that? I can't remember. I'm going to have to go back and look. You guys probably remember things better than me. Number of candy. There it is right there. Sorry, didn't mean to scroll. I know that's kind of annoying when you're watching a video. Okay, the problem is what if they were over? So if they're over, this works because, like, if there's 100 candy in the jar and they guessed 105, then 105 minus 100 gives us 5 away. But if they were under, that would be 95 minus 100. That would give us a negative 5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the absolute value of this. That way it gets us the closest to the destination in a positive number. That way we're looking for the smallest positive number. So I'm going to say math.abs. And that will give us that absolute value. And basically the absolute value is just a positive number. It takes a negative and makes it positive. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to iterate through every single guess in the list. So easiest way to do this is just with a for each loop. So for, now normally if this was an int, we'd put int. We're iterating through the guesses. So we're going to say guess G in guess list. That will make G be every single person that has guessed one at a time. Okay, I want to calculate how far this person is away, and if they're smaller than this distance right here, that means they had a closer guess. So here we go. Let's first calculate how far away G is. So I'm going to say int dist equals, and I'm going to use my same logic. I'm going to say G is my object, dot get guess minus the number of candy in the jar. But I'm going to take the absolute value of all of that. Okay, I need a semicolon somewhere. There we go. All right. Okay, so now here's my little if statement. If the distance that they chose was any smaller than the closest distance so far, then that means they are the current winner. So I'll say winner equals G, and closest distance equals distance. There we go. So that will take me through and it will find the one that is closest to the number of candy in the jar. Okay, let's put in a couple of comments so we know where each of these brackets ends. This one aligns with the if statement, so this ends the if statement. This one aligns with the for loop, so this one ends the for loop. That means this one closes the method, the action performed, and then this one ends the action listener. Okay, before we've closed the action performed, before we've closed our function, but after we ended our for, that's where I want to display my answer. So I'm going to say LBL, what did I call it? I can't remember what I called the stats, probably stats. Yeah, LBL stats. I can also look on my image here and know that I want to display in this label. It's called LBL stats. All right, so LBL stats dot set text. What do I want to display? Well, I want to display whoever's closest, the winner. So I'm going to come in here and say winner dot to string, and it will show me who the closest person is. We should probably make it say winner or something like that. So here we go. Winner. And then it shows who it'll show their name and what they guessed. We might want to show how much candy is in the jar as well. So I'm going to add some HTML tags just to make this quick and dirty so we can word wrap. So there's my opening HTML tag. I'm going to do a plus, a little break tag so it goes down to the next line. And this will show how much candy is in the jar. And we know that variable because it's just our number of candy. Then we have to finish this off with a closing HTML tag. There we go. Okay, so this should now theoretically work, other than the fact that I can't spell closet distance. I spelled it closest distance. Sorry about that. Good thing I compiled before I leave you with errors. Okay, any more? Did I spell anything else wrong? Okay, yay. Okay, so let's just test this out, make sure it works. Kim, I'm going to guess what is, I would say right in the middle, 150. Although normally you don't know how many candy, your range of candy in the jar. Patrick is going to guess 200. And my CS 1400 class is going to guess, what did I guess, 200? 201. You can, trump me, see if you guys win. And the winner is you guys. My CS 1400 class guessed 201, and the number of candy in the jar was 299. Well, good luck with this. Let me know if you have any issues, and we will see you in class.